Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
It's a rescue firefighters are calling a miracle. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A man trapped for 3 days in a cave off Sunset Cliffs is now free. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman was there as he was lifted to safety.
This is the moment the man was rescued. We don't know his name, but he told firefighters he'd been trapped in a rocky cave for 3 days.
It is a miracle on it. When you're that far down, stuck in a hole that's about this big, right? We're hoping for the best. I've seen worse, we all have. And so to get him out and have him smiling and moving off to the hospital, it's a good day. It's a good day.
The rescue itself took 20 hours. Firefighters say the biggest challenge was the extremely tight space. They were worried about him bleeding out or even drowning as water filled up the bottom of the cave.
So waist down, it was crushed all with rock and debris. So as he fell and as he slid down through that hole about 15 to 20 feet, all that compressed around him. And of course, when you're trying to climb out, everything starts coming again. And it just slowly compressed everything in on his body, and the rock moved in around it too.
The Chula Vista Fire Department aided in the rescue, but it was the San Bernardino Sheriff's Cave Rescue Team that eventually helped free the man. He was pinned against rocks, so rescuers say they had to break them up with small explosions.
I'm standing at the top of Sunset Cliffs right now, and just below me is where that dramatic rescue happened. You can see firefighters are still down there. They tell us that this man was 15 feet below the rocks as he was trapped down there. And if it wasn't for a group of friends hearing his cries for help, this could have ended very differently.
He was really freaked out. He was really panicked. When the lifeguard arrived, he was really pleading with us not to leave him.
Chris Correa says he and his friends were walking near the cliffs when they heard the trapped man crying for help. Correa says he told them that he had slipped while walking on the rocks. The friends tried to pull him out before realizing just how bad the situation was.
You know, we didn't know he was stuck between two rocks, and so we couldn't really pull him out, which is why we called we called 911.
If they didn't call 911, we wouldn't be having the story that we do today with the fact that we saved someone and got him out of here. So the teenagers did a great job with calling that in, because had they not heard it, he was slowly losing consciousness early last night when we got here, and it would have been a different story for sure.
The man was taken to the hospital, but UC San Diego health officials would not comment on any of his injuries. He was given an IV along with water during the rescue. Firefighters say he likely has crushing injuries around his waist and legs.
But the good part was he was talking, he was alert, he was conversing back to us about pain that he was feeling. The moment that we took away the debris on the right leg, he said he felt it.
Firefighters say the man was in and out of consciousness at times, but he did thank first responders for saving his life. Fire crews say they've never done a technical rescue like this before. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Well, it's been a wet last few days here across California, and well, hey, we did even have some drenching conditions causing problems there across SoCal. Now, we are going to continue to track this storm as it does slowly continue to push on east. We're tracking those chances for a few leftover or lingering rain showers, and we'll also show you where temperatures go throughout the weekend into the holiday on Monday.
It's another night in which more shelter space is available. The city of San Diego is activating its inclement weather policy, which makes more beds available for those experiencing homelessness. All are located in the downtown and Bankers Hill neighborhoods. The rain and the urban runoff we're experiencing has spurred a rain advisory for our beaches. The San Diego County Department of Environmental Health and Quality issued the advisory today for all of our coastal beaches. And that means that beachgoers should be advised that bacteria levels have risen to significant levels in ocean and bay waters. Water contact, like swimming and surfing, should be avoided for 72 hours. And weather is a concern as a busy holiday weekend begins, especially when it comes to travel. Severe weather has made headlines this week from Southern California to Maine. Mike Valerio has an update on how that's affecting the Christmas travel window.
I got a 9-year-old who's freaking out. It's like, what if we have to leave? It's just like, I'll carry you on my back. So that's what I do.
Maine's Androscoggin River raging. From above, a spectacular sight, but on the ground across the state. Alarms in Augusta on Tuesday. The Kennebec River, one of many scenes where roads were impassable. And that continued on Wednesday with water rescues in Casco. This heading into a weekend when many would forge ahead with Christmas travel, some families instead continuing to dry out from earlier in the week.
Got up at 3:30 and it was about ankle deep in my driveway. Moved the cars up the hill to prevent damage, and now where my driveway is, my landlord has a sedan, and you got about that much as a sedan showing.
Out west, there's the cleanup in California. The water in Santa Barbara just inches from this Ford's headlights.
My car is done. My car in the garage are done. My 2 cars in the driveway, they're totally flooded.
Flood watches in Southern California extending into Friday as Arizona braces for the effects of this same atmospheric river. At Baltimore-Washington International Airport, TSA agents going a cappella. Feliz Navidad, as the FAA is also hoping to make travel a little smoother.
Good day.
It's opening military airspace to commercial planes over the holidays, specifically opening 169 new East Coast routes to keep crunch time Christmas air traffic moving smoothly. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
Barrio Logan's new community plan was approved by the city 2 whole years ago. So why it is only now getting the green light? KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki has some answers.
Barrio Logan, a hub of Chicano life and culture in San Diego, has long faced some of the worst traffic and industrial pollution in the state. That's partly because of how it's zoned, which means that homes and industry can sit side by side. Here's Julie Corrales, who works for the Environmental Health Coalition and leads the Barrio Logan Planning Group, speaking at a San Diego City Council forum last month.
As of today, any business, any polluting business, any industry can still open up shop right next to a home or a school or a medical center.
For decades, residents and environmental advocates have been fighting to update the neighborhood's community plan, which could lead to cleaner air and other protections. In 2021, after a lot of delays, the City Council finally voted to approve an update that would separate homes and industrial activity and add stronger local protections for renters. But since then, the update has been in limbo. For 2 years, it's been bouncing back and forth between the City Council and a state agency called the California Coastal Commission, which also has jurisdiction over the neighborhood.
We need these changes implemented 10 years ago. Please don't make us wait any longer.
Now, state regulators in the city have finally reached an agreement. It might take a few years, according to city staff, but soon, Barrio Logan residents could start seeing some of the changes they've been fighting for. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
New federal and local numbers suggest a slowdown in home sales while prices remain high. National data comes from the Census Bureau and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The agencies say sales of newly built homes were down 12% in November compared to October. Year-to-year sales are up just 1.4%. Here in San Diego, new data from CoreLogic shows the local median price is at $850,000, and that's up nearly 11% in 1 year. A new state law would allow the sale of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, separate from the main house on a property. KPBS's Scott Rod says if San Diego adopts the program, thousands of newly eligible homes could hit the market in the coming years.
Assembly Bill 1033 aims to make more housing available for lower-income and first-time buyers. ADUs are smaller units built on the property of an existing home, but currently they cannot be sold separately from the main house.
We supported it because it was moving the ball in the right direction.
Ricardo Flores is executive director of LISC San Diego, a housing nonprofit that got behind AB 1033. ADU construction is booming in San Diego. So far this year, the city has permitted more than 1,500 ADUs, nearly triple the number permitted in 2020. But Flores says the new state law, even if San Diego opts in, won't solve the city's dire housing crisis.
To really create it so that we could actually bring down the cost of housing for thousands and thousands and thousands of San Diegans, no. It is a piece of the puzzle, but it's a very small piece of the puzzle.
Still, it could mean more houses on the market and could change the feel of some neighborhoods. Longtime San Diego real estate agent Gary Kent says it may also throw a curveball at the lending industry. Taking a mortgage out on a granny flat is not something lenders have considered before now.
I think banks will take a while to catch up with this. I think loans will be out there, but they'll be very clunky because banks, they like familiarity and conformity. And when you have a house that is, say, 3,000 square feet, and then there's an ADU in the corner of the lot, that's just not something they're used to doing a loan on.
The San Diego City Council would have to approve an ordinance allowing ADU sales, and council members could shape the program in order to meet the local housing market needs. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
2023 has been a deadly year in San Diego for pedestrians and cyclists. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the City Council this month adopted a so-called Complete Streets policy that advocates hope will put safety first.
Complete Streets policies are meant to balance the needs of pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders, and motorists when cities are designing streets. Sometimes that means taking space away from cars and giving it to other, more sustainable modes of travel. But advocates for safe streets said the policy initially presented to the City Council had too many loopholes, and that city staff would be able to ignore it for almost any reason. Councilmember Kent Lee said he thought they had a point.
I know we need to maintain flexibility, but I do want to caution staff in overutilizing the exemption process. I mean, if we're serious about meeting our climate action goals, we need to be serious about implementing our policy aspirations as well.
The council adopted the Complete Streets policy with amendments meant to increase transparency around when the policy isn't being followed. It also amended the policy to encourage the highest level of protection for bike lanes on high-speed corridors. Anar Salayev is executive director of Bike SD. He says that could mean elevated bike lanes on the same level as the sidewalk.
On the flip side, if we want to keep bicyclists on the same level as the vehicle, then we could have more robust structure separating the two. Rather than the flex posts that we have today, we could have thicker bollards or planters or even maybe trees that line the separation between cars and bicycles.
Still, the Complete Streets policy is just guidance for city staff. That's why Salayev says he's not sure how much of a difference the policy will make in terms of actually preventing traffic deaths.
I guess the optimistic part of me wants to say that it's a win because now we have a Complete Streets policy, whereas a couple weeks ago we didn't. Though the more cynical part says that it's nothing more than an incremental step, albeit in the right direction.
The stakes are high for San Diego. The city has set ambitious goals around preventing traffic deaths and encouraging more biking and walking. Goals it is far behind on achieving. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Customs and Border Protection is expanding its surveillance capabilities along the southern border. The agency plans to acquire more than 250 new surveillance towers. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis spoke to privacy experts about this rapid expansion.
San Diego has one of the most militarized sections of the border. It has two border walls, a primary and secondary fence. It has a small fleet of drones and ATVs, and it also has dozens of surveillance towers. Dave Moss is the director of investigations at the San Francisco-based Electronic Frontier Foundation. He's been tracking this expansion of surveillance technology along the border.
In some parts of southern San Diego County, there's one of these surveillance towers every mile and a half. And so it's quite a dragnet that they're putting out there.
And more are coming. Earlier this year, Customs and Border Protection awarded multi-million-dollar contracts to 3 companies to build new surveillance towers along the border. Both Republicans and Democrats generally agree on increasing border surveillance. They call it building a virtual border wall to complement the existing physical barrier. Officials have said that technology is needed to keep up with the tactics of human traffickers. But Moss says there's a lot of potential for abuse. Some of these cameras point directly into people's backyards. There's little oversight and a history of misconduct by Border Patrol agents.
You just look at the things that have happened. So Border Patrol creating a list of journalists and activists and humanitarians and human rights lawyers and using that list to stop them and harass them at the border.
Moss says that these concerns span way beyond the border region. A lot of this technology was first used by the military. Then it was given to Customs and Border Protection.
Good example is drones. Like drones started being used by CBP. Now Chula Vista has this drones as first responder program. And now you're seeing that being installed elsewhere in the country. It's this path. Military, border, rest of the country.
The new surveillance towers will be built over the next decade. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
San Diego County health officials are urging everyone to get vaccinated and tested as people gather and illnesses spread. The county says wastewater surveillance, which measures the amount of COVID-19 virus in sewage, is showing sharp increases. The South Bay and the North Coastal areas are seeing the biggest spikes, and flu and RSV cases are also on the rise. Vaccines are available for all three of those viruses. And we're seeing more of the damage done by intense rain to our north. Some places in Ventura County are still cleaning up from the flooding caused by a sudden amount of rain Wednesday night. Jasmine Vale shows us what neighbors at one beach community are dealing with.
Homes in Port Hueneme flooded. The Vasquez family used a pot to scoop up the water after it swept into their house on Boker Drive early Thursday after a massive amount of rain. The water filled the living room, around the Christmas tree, under beds, and through the kitchen. Gary Harbor's townhome on Hemlock Street also flooded.
It got to be maybe 4 to 6 inches deep in our living room, kitchen, downstairs bathroom. The whole downstairs was flooded.
This mom says she evacuated her home in the Beach City neighborhood Thursday morning.
It's a lot of rain that we're not used to, and it came just absolutely pounding and pouring down about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Pictures inside other Port Hueneme homes show presents floating on the muddy rainwater inside hallways and garages. The Ventura County Fire Department says dozens of homes were flooded.
You see water lines that are about chest high on me, so you're talking 4 feet, maybe higher than that.
City officials in Port Hueneme say they tried to prepare for the storm, but it was too much for the channels.
A lot of rain came in, about 3 inches in 45 minutes. Storm drain was coming in with high tide. Water was trying to go out.
Many residents say they do not have flood insurance. City officials say they have declared an emergency to get more resources to help with all of this water damage.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines. What you need to know here heading into the weekend. It's a big holiday weekend. A lot of people are going to be traveling. Well, I do have some good news for you. First, though, we are starting off with a few lingering showers sticking around there, mostly in San Diego County into Saturday morning, though the overall trend is going to be drier and warmer, though, as we head into next week with good holiday travel here on tap for the weekend, even into the holiday on Monday. Now, tonight, we're dropping down to a low of 54. Now, we cannot rule out a shower still in and around the area, and that's going to be the story even as we make our way further inland as well. San Diego, you're dropping down to the 50s tonight. Oceanside 52, Mount Laguna into the 30s, and Borrego Springs 47. Now, where do highs go as we head into tomorrow? Well, hey, you'll see some sun, especially as we head throughout the day. Again, I'm not going to rule out a stray or lingering shower there early on your Saturday, but overall, we're going to be trending drier. 67 in Oceanside, San Diego coming in with a high of 65, Mount Laguna 44, and Borrego Springs 70. Now, I do want to time this out for you, show you kind of what we're dealing with here. Again, a few lingering showers, especially there a little bit further inland here through the mountains. And, well, we are tracking, again, a few lingering showers and those clouds still sticking around there even throughout the early hours on our Saturday into Saturday afternoon. Those clouds kind of stick around there right along the coast. So heads up. Again, we are talking about some clouds and some sun, especially there along the coast. That's going to be the story there. 67 for the high. Sunday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 67. Temperatures do stay pretty steady there even throughout the early week. Monday for Christmas, you'll hit a high of 68, up to 69 by Tuesday, and 66 on Wednesday. Now, further inland, well, highs are going to be remaining relatively steady, though you will see a slight increase in the mercury here. We're going to be at 70 there by Christmas. Sunny and beautiful there for the holiday. For the mountains, well, high staying in the 40s. It's going to be a little chilly, of course. Cloudy and chilly for the start of the weekend, though we'll have plenty of sunshine for Monday. As for the deserts, well, hey, temperatures are going to be dropping slightly throughout the weekend into the holiday on Monday, but then we're back up to the mid-60s there by Tuesday. 67 there for the high, and Wednesday you'll hit a high of 65. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Well, there might be more PlayStations under the tree this year. Sony, which has a presence in San Diego, just had a huge month for its marquee console. SDSU's Miro Kopik shares his thoughts on what this means for the larger gaming industry in the Friday Business Report.
PlayStation 5 was really impacted by the global supply chain crisis. So Sony was not, for the first few years, able to really produce the level of units that there was demand for. So, really at the second half of 2023, they finally started to be able to produce those levels. And so November was a record month. And so now they're projecting that they'll be on track to at least meet the 100 million unit threshold and possibly, exceed even the PlayStation 4. People who are, very knowledgeable in the industry say that roughly Sony outsells Microsoft at a level of 2-to-1, both for PS4 and PS5. PlayStation is a critical part of the whole Sony infrastructure place outside of the studio side of the business, and Sony Electronics, which is here in San Diego. And so, this is going to be, it's a good news, bad news scenario for Sony. Good news is that there is significant demand for the PlayStation 5, and the challenge is going to be, looking forward, can they contain their costs, and can they have enough content and the right kind of titles to kind of stay, as one of the leaders in the space.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, we speak with a Palestinian poet who was detained by Israeli forces in Gaza. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It was a first in 2023. California's three major symphonies, San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, launched the California Festival, a 2-week celebration featuring classical music with a focus on new composers. KPBS reporter John Carroll took in the sights and the sounds of the San Diego Symphony's preview performance of the festival, a performance that did not take place in California.
Fresh off a national tour that ended with a performance in Carnegie Hall last month, the San Diego Symphony was on the road again last week, out of the United States, but close to home.
To come here is, I think, important as we look for cultural bonds and connections.
Here is Tijuana, the Seacoot, Tijuana's cultural center. The symphony presenting a free concert for our southern neighbors. At a pre-concert news conference, Martha Gilmer and the Consul General of Mexico in San Diego, Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, spoke of the transcendent meaning of this cultural event.
Their work has to benefit everybody and has to reach every member of this single region, that although it's composed by two nations, it's in the end one sole region.
The need for understanding and compassion and communication in our world is more important than ever, and music can help us do that.
Back to the main purpose of the California Festival, showcasing works that are 5 years old or less, like David Chesky's The Abreu Danza, No. 4.
San Diego Symphony Orchestra, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra are the anchors for the California Festival, which is a 3-week period of time. And we've invited many, many musical organizations around the state, 100 as a matter of fact, to perform new music, to showcase new composers.
But not just new composers. Some of a previous era who broke the norms of their day were included, like Richard Strauss and his famous Also sprach Zarathustra. The piece requires the full 90-member orchestra, and that includes an organ. As you might imagine, moving the full orchestra here, including 2 harps, a marimba, and of course the organ, was quite the logistical challenge, a job which primarily fell to the Symphony's Vice President of Impact and Innovation, Laura Reynolds.
Well, it's a complicated jigsaw puzzle of packing that our incredible production team put together. So yes, it has taken months of planning to figure out how many musicians, how many instruments, how we're going to get it across the border in both directions.
The Sikut Theater seats about 1,000 people, and it was full. I'm told hundreds were turned away. If the dos damas on either side of the stage could talk, they'd probably agree with the audience. This visit, this performance was on so many levels a rousing success. This concert was an auspicious occasion. It's the first time the Symphony has played in Tijuana for more than 20 years. And it happened on an auspicious day, Dia de los Muertos, also the 200th anniversary of the establishment of relations between the United States and Mexico. A day, as Symphony CEO Martha Gilmer said, to heal the wounds of our souls through friendship and music. In Tijuana, John Carroll, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.